is so powerful, right? Like people kill themselves because they put themselves in this negative mindset and this spin. The mind is controlling that action. People are Olympic champions, world champions, because they believe they can do it. So,
welcome back to another episode of Intrepidus podcast with your hosts Dan and Anthony. Today's episode number 44. We have Chris Mulvaney with CMDS. Welcome to the show, Chris.
thank you so much for having me.
So,
Excited.
CMDS is a marketing agency, but not your typical marketing agency, which we learned a little bit earlier. So tell us a little bit about your company.
Yeah, sure. So I started the business 23 years ago, primarily as a creative. So I grew up as a creative, okay? So always inquisitive, always an observer, taking apart things that I found garbage night, like lawnmowers, whatever I could find, building sick go-karts out of them that went like 60 miles an hour. And I was really trying to figure out like what my next, move was in life. And I met with a couple of relatives, decided to get into graphic design because that's what they were into way back in the day. So college, that was my focus. Then first job, I went to Polo Ralph Lauren doing men's polo sport brand development. So like we're in, summer now, so we'd be working on spring of 2026 right now, the clothing line, what that brand would look like. Hated it, bunch of pompous, pretentious assholes working there. And I was this dude, believe it or not, with long hair, playing metal music, just not your average, Polo Ralph Lauren employee. Then got picked up by Saatchi & Saatchi, which was the world's largest advertising agency at the time, did a lot of brand development, focused on doing a lot of development work, which was kind of new back in the day, like website design development. And we really weren't getting that much work in that space yet because it was so early. So that's when I really wanted to branch out and do my own thing. So long story short, we primarily started, or I started the agency focusing on building brands on the internet. So bringing these brands that really didn't have any web presences way back in the day to the internet and doing some really cool stuff with this program called Flash. So a lot of animation, a lot of visual movement. And then as like everything progressed, it was like, all right, well, now these websites aren't ranking and SEO became a thing, important, right? How do we get our brands to rank number one on search? So when SEO first came out, we were at the forefront.
What year was this?
So this is 2002. Okay. And then as time went on, we started communicating on behalf of our clients in forums. So that was like social media before social really popped.
I miss forums.
Yeah, they're so educational. There's still a few that I'm on for other things, but that was where we really were like, all right, we're going to have a voice on behalf of our brands in these forums and build a brand. And then Facebook came out in 2004 and was like, all right, let's see what we can do here to leverage this platform. We created accounts under brand names, and then company pages came out. It was like, all the evolution. I mean, we were doing shit way back in the day where we were advertising on AOL and Yahoo, like I did all these ads for the Meadowlands, the Hamiltonian, actually, way back in the day, the over-the-top flash ads where they would run across the screen on Yahoo. Like, I don't know if you remember that.
Yep.
Like, that was all
the
us.
banners.
Yeah. So I did all that stuff way back in the day. Got to work with some pretty big brands like LG, Meadowlands, like I said, and I wanted to, kind of grow the business. And CMDS stood for Chris Mulvaney Design Solutions. It was only supposed to be me. I never wanted a company. I was just a consultant, creative dude who, just wanted to build really cool things. And right after I started, I had 11 employees like that, and then I went away on a honeymoon. I was out for like a month between my wedding and my honeymoon. Came back, my sales guy had lost my 3 biggest accounts, and I'm like, fuck this. Like, I don't want this, So anyway, I fired everybody and got my 3 biggest accounts back. And I'm like, I need an assistant, need somebody to rock with me and just get like this thing going where I can handle it. So I did all the creative and development, and he was doing all the client management. And then built it up again today, and so now we're 13 people. Our clients range in shapes and sizes. So our average client's doing 10 to 150 million in gross revenue. They're a business-to-business, service-based company. We have a couple of product clients, but most of them are B2B service-based clients. Ironically, they're family-owned for the most part. So they have multiple businesses. Some have family offices and things of that nature. So when you get one of those clients, you could be dealing with 10 brands within that one client, which is great for us because, it's hard. We do our own marketing and everything as well, but, we're a little high ticket. Our websites started around 20 grand just for like a baseline, but like some go to $250,000, and some of our, marketing plans are, 20, 30 grand a month management fees, right? So how do you get, a client that's willing and or able to invest that kind of money on a monthly basis? It's not from a Google search, it's all strategic relationships and such. So that's what, kind of what we do in a nutshell. Tactically, website design development, social management, but it's more than social management. We can get into that at some other point. We manage paid search, paid social, we create content for our brands, but it all is developed and coming from, this really more emotional, psychological interview process that we have with our clients and our brands and really help them figure out how to engage their clients on an emotional level so that when they're ready, their clients are ready to make a purchasing decision, their brand is top of mind.
So let's talk about this rock and roll, long-haired punk dude that you were back there, right? Metal dude. How did you get involved in going from this place where you were working for these companies and deciding, I want to own my own business? Does entrepreneurship run in your family? Like, where did this come from?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. So, I've always been like slightly rebellious, like just I can like do, anything. I'm not trying to sound like it's either pompous, like whatever I want to do, I do. Like I can get it done. Yeah. And there were times where I was working for an organization, like, a large company, winning awards for them and not getting any credit. And I wanted that back then, like that notoriety was important to me. Also making, a very small salary, commuting to the city. It was just like, freaking grind. And I was also moonlighting, had another agency, Gray, which was the second largest agency, working 80 hours a week. So I'm like, all right, those projects were good. They were like $35,000 a pop. I'd do them in 2 weeks. But it was all me. So like I'm literally up all day and all night working. And I'm like, man, this is not a way to live,
Yeah.
And so then another thing happened. My boss, who I had admired and had a great amount of respect for, got fired at a very young age because, large organization, making a lot of money. I'm like, man, this is what it's like in this space. I'm not going to age out. Like, so that's, where I was like, I'm going to go out and start my own thing. And then I realized, fuck, I'm not the entrepreneur or the manager, like the E-Myth, right? Like you have to figure out these other things. And so here I am, a creative guy. Like, I'm not like, I'd rather be home than go to a party. I'm not that kind of, guy, like somewhat introverted, so I have to call people and, and network and get business now. This sucks. This was a challenge. I just want to do the good things. And that's where like, I learned all those skills to take it to the next level.
So you referenced the E-Myth, that book. Did that book help you like build yourself like to where you are today? And how has, reading books like we talked about it before, Traction and Built to Sell and all these different books, like how have they helped you set up what you're doing in a place that you can help other people? Because I know like when you're coaching and helping these other brands, like you're looking at it as a perspective of, continuation of growth.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people in business don't understand the way business really rolls. Like everyone thinks it's like transactional one time, but it's long-term. It's everything you invest is going to be a long-term investment for a long-term gain. Right.
Yep.
So like how have those books and, just references in those books changed the way you thought about when you originally were going to go into business compared to you being in business today?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the E-Myth, that's a big one for me. It definitely was one of those books that changed my life. It taught me that I can't do everything myself, and I was, and in order for me to like grow and actually become sane, I had to create processes and build. I build like a future org chart, and I'll do this every once in a while. Like I'll build out my org chart based on titles and not even the humans that I have, and I'm like, all right, if this is where I want to grow to, then this is the team that I need underneath me, and this is what their responsibilities are going to be. And I actually break it down with index cards too, and I have this pile of index cards in my desk where every once in a while I'll start to make, this future org chart and just move the titles from one person to another. So, because we're smaller, people have to wear multiple hats, right? So we want to give them as many, responsibilities that are in that org chart that we can. That's going to help me grow the agency in the right direction, but also monitor the amount of effort and time that has actually been taken, so we know who our next strategic hire should be, as opposed to just like, Wild Westing it and being like, oh, we need another person, who do we need? So we track everything, all of our time. So it really, it helped us build out processes. I mean, I think I showed you when you were at my place, like the manuals, right? Or a manual that we have, like everything is like itemized out, like to the nth degree. And, some people could look at it as micromanaging. I look at it as perfection. Like if you follow all these things in this blueprint that we create for every single employee, it makes me able to hire people faster and onboard them like better, because now I'm very, very specific and clear as to what my ideal person is and what they look like. And then, you actually can evolve that based on, who you get in that role, like what needs to be modified and change. But I think, like the one big takeaway I've gotten from books, and I mentioned this book to you too, is this book called Psycho-Cybernetics. It's by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. It's a mindset book, and it's really about being clear on the outcome and then creating a mental movie and visualizing what life is going to be like at that point, and fucking going and getting it, and your subconscious works to go and get it. So like, great example is I was a competing weightlifter for years. And, I already knew this, but one of my coaches, she was the first woman ever to lift 300 pounds over her head. She was an Olympic weightlifter, Guinness Book of World Records setter, fucking phenomenal woman, right? She was like, when you go to the bar and you set up, you have to visualize the outcome of this lift. Like what are you going to do when you go down to grab the bar? How's the bar feel? How fast is the bar going up to your knee? Then from your knee to your hip, how fast is it going to go? What's the bar path look like when it comes up? At what point are you dropping under the bar? How hard are you locking out? Where is your eyes going? Like, just like breaking it down to like every little tiny movement. And before you go up to that bar, you're closing your eyes and you're visualizing that lift, and then boom, you're fucking banging it. And that's what business is like. Like it should be like. You have to know where you're going and what the outcome is. Like when I'm there, what's the outcome, right? Like we talked about making shit tons of money and then being like upset about it at the end, right? Yeah. Like we didn't define what the outcome was. Like when we have that money, then what? Exactly. Right? And so you need to be clear on the outcome. So, not only do you work towards it, your subconscious works towards it to go and get it,
I'm sitting here laughing because, I'm imagining this Olympic lifter that you're talking about, visualizing every step, and all I could think about is that's what I do with my golf swing, and right before I hit into the woods, right? Yeah. And then it's gone. Doesn't help me, I can tell you that much.
So that's a funny story, actually. So in that book, it's like chapter 3. So I've read this book a dozen times or listened to it. Chapter 3, you have to like listen to this like today. Okay. It talks about the Jack Nicklaus, he would sit in a chair for 10 minutes a day and just visualize the lift. I'm sorry, the swing. Mm-hmm. Like how he was going to make contact with the ball, like his positioning and everything. And they talk about an example where it took like 12 strokes off a guy's game in the first 9 purely from doing that, just visualizing. Not even like doing it, dude. It was more just like thinking about it. And there's been studies I've heard of too separately where like these baseball camps, they'll break them up into like 3 leagues, like minor leagues, whatever, 3 study groups. And it's like one is actually doing the exercises and visualizing. One is just doing the exercise, and one is just visualizing. And the ones that just visualize are close, like just a short percentage under the ones that are visualizing and actually doing.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it's wild. So like your mind is so powerful, right? Like people kill themselves because they put themselves in this negative mindset and this spin. Right. And like the mind is controlling that action. People are Olympic champions, world champions, because they've put their mind in that mindset.
They believe they can do it.
They believe they can do it. So it's like, what do you want to believe? And you have to make that choice and then just fucking go and get it,
People don't realize how powerful your subconscious is, and like how it does so much for you, and it puts you in places, it puts you years ahead, it puts you in so many situations that you like can't see yourself until you visualize yourself being there.
Right.
And all of a sudden you're like, wow, I thought about this.
Right.
I saw myself here. I saw this happening.
Yep.
But it's the same thing. If you kill yourself or you do bad shit, like you saw that shit happen.
Yeah, it's funny. I just listened to a podcast, and not to like derail it or anything like that, but the person the title of the podcast was "Manifestation Ain't Shit," and it was like, well, what's this about? Obviously, it's a catchy title, and he goes on about like manifesting doesn't mean anything. Like it literally means nothing if you don't do the work.
Right.
It's like, okay, yeah, that's 100% true. Some people look in the mirror and say, I'm going to lose weight today. And it's like, well, why didn't I lose 5 pounds? Well, it's because you didn't get your ass on the treadmill.
Right.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you said that I really like is that you have defined your perfect avatar for your employee, where a lot of businesses, they all the language and discussions are around my perfect avatar in a client and customer setting. But you have defined in the customer setting, with the employee setting, which I absolutely love. And actually, the first time it's actually been mentioned on this podcast. But besides that, so kudos to you to that. I really love that. And I'm definitely going to use that. The org chart is something I also do. But one of the questions that I come across very often is the difference between marketing and brand, where from my understanding, what I have been told is brand is who you are and marketing is what you sell. What is your take on that?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a story because I feel like the stories resonate the most, right?
Sure.
So I had a good friend of mine. He was my best friend at the time, way back in the day. He was a realtor, super successful. And we had built this web presence for every single condo community, area of Monmouth County, any sort of like neighborhood that was, well known or brand, we would build our own website for those neighborhoods. And he had a team under him, and we were getting so many leads that people were like, give it to the next guy, and they didn't realize they were the next guy. They were getting like 350 to 450 leads a month, real estate leads through this system. And my friend's like, dude, I am working my fucking ass off for these, $120 to $250,000 condos and, even like these smaller houses. And I'm realizing I'm putting the same amount of work in for those as like, the $500,000 homes and the bigger ones. I'm like, let's focus on brand building instead of lead gen. All right. We're going to build your brand so people want to come to you and not like, and they want to come to you because you have a very specific service to selling my high valued home, right? Mm-hmm. So we built this brand. We got rid of all those web properties, and his average home was like $1 million. And he was selling houses on the Navasink, Monmouth County, and these really big houses in Homedale and Cold Neck, whatever. And it was a big shift, for him. Because then his volume dropped initially, and then his volume went up, but in the right types of and
his
housing.
avatar.
Yes, exactly. So for me, it's like you build your brand and make people desire coming to you, and they're going to trust you because your brand is so big. It's like, how could they not trust you? And it's like, oh, we're just going to use this company because they're the ones that are the leaders in the space because we've built their brand that high, right? Whereas with if you talk about lead gen, and we'll use Groupon as a perfect example, nobody is brand loyal that uses Groupon. Like they're looking for a deal.
Yeah.
They'll go to another like company if it's cheaper, and like that's not that's a race to the bottom if you're in that business. So you don't want to be the cheapest all the time. Go in that direction. So to answer your question, it's for me it's like being the magnet or making my clients be the magnet and attract their ideal business as opposed to just any business that they can get.
Do you make the person a brand or the business a brand?
So great question. So it should be both. In a lot of cases, the CEOs or COOs don't want to be the face. Yep. So then you got to find like somebody that's in sales that's willing to do that. and sometimes clients don't like, we'll get access to their LinkedIn accounts and connect with prospects on their behalf. That's what one of the things that's different about our social. And some clients are like, yeah, you know what, I don't want to, build my employees, database of prospects that
Right.
I'm going to potentially, lose this guy at some point, or maybe. But
Because what does that turn into? Does that turn into like almost the business owner is now the bottleneck because people are trying to resource the business owner, get answers from the business owner, connect with the business owner, and then they're left high and dry because this guy's too busy and he's not answering back. So,
yeah,
isn't it like catch-22?
it is 100%. And the business owner is like always the bottleneck of the business, right?
Yeah.
And the business owner is, you look at sometimes what's the highest and best use of your time, and like, scraping or like going after prospects and stuff like that might not be worth it based on how big you are. Like you might as well just have might have a team doing that.
Yeah.
Your value is really in the leadership and the direction of where the organization has to go at that point, But with that being said, like building the brand of that person doesn't have to be about like them necessarily posting constantly in social. That's where you're like, all right, public speaking events, what charity things, are there that we can get you
Just
involved
putting your
in.
face out there.
Right, exactly. Like be
Be a representative of your company.
Exactly, the face, right?
So what are some like key identifiers for you to select a client, or is it whoever could foot the bill, right? Because there's some organizations who will work with very specific people because they believe in the vision or because they actually see an outlet where they could excel and do well, and then obviously can retain them as a client. What are your key indicators for someone you're going to work with?
So first, budget, or gross revenue, like a minimum of 10 million is a thing for us. Like we need to know that they're going to be willing or able to invest in their marketing and in us, and ideally even have a budget for it, right? So that's some, like, we have a client, $1 billion a year account, that they don't even have a marketing budget. I'm like, we have to figure this out, I mean, they spend, but it's like
Some budget,
yeah, you need to know how much you're spending in digital. What's trade show spend look like? Are you doing any traditional, dinners, events after shows and things of that nature? You have to know. So they have to have a certain amount of revenue in order for us to like comfortably work with them. Also, we tend to work better with organizations that don't have full marketing departments. Maybe they have like one or two people. So, and that's that goes two ways, right? Like, so a new client that we're just kind of onboarding right now is a $20 billion a year account. They have an internal team and 6 agencies, and we're gonna get a fuck ton of work from them because we're scrappy. So like we can get shit done fast compared to the other guys. So like, yeah, I mean, we'll work with those guys because they're $20 billion a year gross revenue. But it's more than that. We don't work in real estate any longer. We have a legacy mortgage client. Those are B2C. So we try to like stay away from some of that. Although like we do have a couple of B2C accounts that we fucking crush it for, like HVAC companies. I've actually thought about starting an HVAC company because we see what we can do from a marketing perspective. But yeah, it's really like, also, is it something that like my moral compass aligns with? So we do work in pharma as well. I'll never do a vaccine, brand or anything like that. Like,
yeah.
I have no desire in helping you push something that it just doesn't align with my moral compass. So
I love that.
So if you have a company who makes the money and they fit and align with you, why would they want to hire you instead of the other guy? Like, what's going to make you exceptional versus just taking money and not driving results? So if, let's say, I was a $10 million company and we're having a conversation, what's going to make me want to hire you versus the other guy?
Yeah, sure. So that's a great question. So we repositioned as a business breakthrough agency a few years ago. And so what we do is we help brands reinvent and reignite themselves at their core. And it's like, marketing agencies are going to do social, they're going to do websites. Our approach is a lot different. Like, we have a boot camp that we start all our clients out with. It's a 2-day event, 4 hours a day. It's challenging getting some of them there because of what they do. But in that boot camp, not only are we asking 100 questions, we do 1, 3, and 5 year business goal setting. We do SWOT analysis, and then we do persona development. So who are the people that we're going to be marketing to? Like, what do they do on a daily basis? What do they look like? Where do they work? What are their job titles? Things of that nature. So after we go through that exercise, we're aligning our marketing objectives to achieve the 1, 3, and 5 year business goals. And, from a consulting perspective, I get involved in consulting the CEOs directly through, we call it breakthrough activation. It's like business coaching, but it's almost like I'm working as a CEO with you, alongside, and I'm getting the shit done for you because you want to do it, but you're unable to do it because you're just too busy. So I slip in as like their right-hand man, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to work with your team. Like, I helped a $150 million a year company. I not only with their 1 through 5 year goal setting, I worked with every single employee within that organization to help them figure out their why. Why do you do what you do? Like, this is what we're going to use now when we introduce ourselves to prospects and clients. I help them with their management teams or their teams with management. So I introduced them to the book, The 1 Minute Manager. Like, this is how you have to motivate your employees. These are the 3 things you want them to focus on. This is how you're going to hold them accountable. You're going to get them to fall in love with you and the brand because of how you're managing and your management style. So, a marketing agency isn't thinking about a lot of that stuff. Like, we have a lot of business acumen, I think, which makes us different because, like, we care about the result more of the brand. Like, one of the things we ask right away is like, okay, 3 years, 5 years, is there an exit? Like, are you trying to sell? Right? Because then we position you for acquisition. Like, maybe you don't have any processes in place. Maybe you have some shitty employees that need to go. And we've had those hard conversations with the employee and the CEO in the same room, and just talking to them like, listen, you have to grow or get the fuck out of the way because we're going to grow, and we'd like you to be part of this, but you have to change. So that's kind of like, us. And I think our brands lean on us to have those hard conversations as well, because, a lot of these people are tight with their employees or have a relationship, but that has prevented them from being able to give them the direction that they need to have for growth to happen, So, so that's, I guess, how we're different. We're building brands, but we're also getting involved in the business, and we give a shit about the brands from a business level, not just from a marketing perspective. So.
It's to my understanding in the marketing space, spoken with God knows how many marketing agencies on the show, off the show.
Right.
When you're in business, it's just a natural part of running and operating a business.
Yeah,
it's just never ending. But one of the constant issues that seems to be throughout is really customer client churn.
Yeah. Yep.
What is the average life that a customer stays with you? How long?
8.25 years.
8 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's probably the longest I've ever heard.
Yeah. And that's what makes, and our average employee stays with us for 6.25 years. Wow. And that's what makes us remarkable too. So like, and I can tell you a little bit about that.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Please.
Awesome. So
let's do it.
I believe in risk reversal out of the gate. Okay. So I'm going to do whatever I can to make you fall in love with the agency prior to you making the decision to working with us. And you're going to get to a point where you're like, all right, I'm ready. Let's go. Come on. Like, where do I sign? Like, I want you to almost beg me to want to do business with you. Right. And, so we provide so much value to our clients before the relationship even starts. And then there's this honeymoon phase. Like, you see a lot of agencies that are like, they undercharge. This is a big problem. They undercharge because they want the account. They service the account as much as they can for the first few months, and then the honeymoon phase drops, and then they're like, okay, like, I have to do this. I have to work with all these other clients to make money. Like, I have to get like this business, and then the amount of service drops, and even the result or the output drops. And there's a point where you have to like really look at like, what does it take to be successful for this client? What do I need to do? And then charge accordingly, and instead of coming up with a price that you think they're going to buy, and then try to get them that way, because the relationship will always fail. It'll be quick. We say no. Like, I've had friends like Aaron introduced me to somebody. We were at the block, and he's like, this guy was like, oh yeah, I could definitely use you, and I was like, we wouldn't work with you. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a dick. Like, we wouldn't work with you because like I already know what business he was in. He's not going to be willing and or able to invest a minimum of $5,000 up to $20,000 on a monthly basis with us. And, he's going to be that persona is going to be like, hey, haven't gotten any business yet. Like, it takes 6 months to a year for a machine to really, when you're building a brand, you need to put the time in, and you need to like really just stay focused on building that brand, or else, it's just not going to work. So
what I've seen, like selling high ticket and selling, services and coaching services, like when you talk to people who are super qualified and people who have the money, dude, they literally just pay you.
Right.
But when you talk to other people who are underqualified, they ask 1,000 questions. What's this going to do? Do I really need it? How fast am I going to get results? Blah, 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 blah. And like, dude, I was just like, you know what? This is not for us.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, I don't even take the conversation any further, because I would rather talk to 2 people who literally stroke the check,
right,
than try to convince 10 people why they need to stroke the check.
Yeah.
And I found out just even in the last 12 months, like how easy it is to be in the right market, talk to the right people, and close the right people.
Yep.
Versus trying to convince people why they need something or why they don't need something.
Right.
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Run.
If I see something wrong, I'm gonna buy it. If I see something I need or it's gonna make me better, I'm gonna buy it. Like, there's no question to
Right.
it.
Yep.
I'm not gonna overanalyze it, because at the end of the day, it's an investment. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I won't know.
Yeah.
And people who are overqualified literally always say, like, how do you want your payment? How do you, all that,
Right,
versus
yeah.
everybody else, like, do you take payment plans? No, you're not for
Right.
me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you definitely. No, that's one thing that we've learned too. And if there's a problem, if any of your listeners have a challenge like charging, there's a book called "Someone Has to Be the Most Expensive. Why Not Make It You?" And it's a great book because it talks about like charging more, like just charging like double your rates or triple your rates. But you can't just leave it there. You have to figure out how to provide so much value that your clients aren't going to go anywhere because they're afraid of missing out, So
Yeah, they're buying the value and they're buying the outcome versus buying the dollar amount.
right. Yep.
Yeah, I've heard before, and I love this, is price your product or service at the value that you deliver, and then over deliver on value after the
100%.
fact, and that's how you keep them for 8+ years.
Yep,
I
exactly.
assume.
Yep.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
And what's crazy too is like I personally have limited involvement with all of my clients. Like I meet with a couple of them, and maybe it's just for lunch here and there. So like that says a lot about my team, right? Because my team is delivering this value too, and the processes that we've put in place to make sure that they deliver value.
Yep.
Like whatever it is, surprise and delight. Somebody had a baby that works at a company. We're sending them a blanket engraved with the name, right? Like, it's somebody's birthday. We're giving them a $150 gift certificate to a restaurant that we know that they love because we asked one of their employees or a sibling. Like, it's those and that's not just, those are the over and aboves. That's not even the delivering the value that I'm necessarily talking about. Like you can deliver value without even spending a dime more,
Sure.
It's like, how do you just go over and above and be like even better for that client? So, they want to continue working with you and then refer the shit out of you. And that's how we get our business. It's all referral.
You said that you don't even meet your clients anymore. So obviously you've created this machine of a process that's beautiful. What is your day-to-day right now?
So, well, I'm on a podcast right now. So
You are.
I go out to, lunch, dinner with people a lot, like network people, prospects sometimes. So I am involved in some new business stuff for sure. I'm overseeing making sure that things are happening the way they should. I meet with my COO for about 2 hours a week, and we'll discuss what's happening, give marching orders there. But my favorite thing is innovation. So innovation for the agency and innovation for clients. So like I'm always thinking about how to make things better, faster, cheaper, smarter, and what I need to do to take something to the next level. So I will actually program something out or build a system that does something, and measure the success of it and like try to modify it, make it better, and and so on. So I like doing that. Like when AI first came out, like it was 2023, I guess it was, like when the first bit of it came out, I built a system that You'd upload a YouTube video, then you would transcribe that YouTube video, and then you would rewrite that content into an article and make 50 social posts out of the article content, and then you would create an email out of it, and then you would notify everybody in the organization. We use this program called Flock. It's like Slack, to go and like the posts, and here were the links, and the post would automatically be in draft in our back end of our WordPress site. Optimized, for the search phrase that, we wanted to be, ranking for. And like this, this is all like super easy stuff to do now. Like you can do it now. But like when it first came out, like I was like, boom, I'm going to do it. That's what I like to do, is like figuring out processes and systems that make things happen, that are going to save, the client or myself time and money. And, so I like playing around with that. Or I'll build another, like, look at building a company and go down the rabbit hole, like what that would look like, So
I think it's important knowing you a little bit on a personal level, because you help these businesses grow. And I'm sure when you get inside of these businesses, you see that business owner working around the clock, 7 days a week, trying to get, things moving in the right direction. Right. And then having a conversation with you, whenever I call you, hey, what are you doing? I'm taking my kid here. Right. I'm out to dinner with my wife while my kid's here. Right. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I want my dad. I'm doing, you know what I mean? Like, you're living the lifestyle of operating a company. So I'm sure, like, when your clients call you or get referred to you, and you actually have to take a call, and you're not in the office and you're out and you're at your kid's game, you're doing this, like, that helps because you're leading by the example that you're trying to set.
Right.
So in the beginning of your business, you obviously did everything. Right. You had to fire people, rehire people. You were doing everything. How did you get to a point where you were able to trust these people to run your operation so that you can buy your time back, live the life where, I don't know how many hours of work you eat, how many hours a week you work, but if I had to guess, I would say under 30.
Yeah.
How did you get to that point, and why do you encourage that for maybe your next client?
Yeah, sure. So, listen, family is everything. Like when you have kids, it changes your life. I mean, we had a little bit of dialogue on my podcast about that, and the older you get, the more you realize that life is fleeting, right? And your time with your kid, you're raising your kids to be adults, and they're going to go away one day. They're going to be, they're going to leave the house, and they're going to have their own thing. And you're like, shit, I want to like squeeze every bit of time I possibly can out of like this. And, 80 to 90% becomes okay with my employees, meaning like I'm okay with them delivering what I would deliver, but at 80% of that quality, because it's going to afford me other things. And I'm also really big on like letting them learn too. So like, I want them to fail. I want them to find out that something didn't work, because then they're going to repivot, and I'm there for advice and structure and guidance. But like that's how you grow as an employee or as a person. Right. Mm-hmm. So they need to have those moments where they mess up in order to do better. So, when I was able to like first do that, which is a really big challenge because I am a control freak, it's like I needed to like have peace, and it's you're never there as a business owner. Like you're like I'm like somewhat neurotic, I'm thinking all the time about like solving a challenge or a potential challenge. That
sounds like he's talking to you.
Yeah.
So before you go any further, so my biggest problem with Anthony, he doesn't have kids. He doesn't have a wife. This guy's around the clock. Even though he's got teams working for him, bro, this guy's always buried in.
Yeah.
Right? And what I see with him, he's still young.
Yeah.
But he's not that young. I see like burnout.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's working around the clock. He's always working, bro.
Yep.
7 days a week, this dude's fucking jamming it because he's neurotic.
Yeah.
Right? But he's got a good life. He's got a good system. Right. But if you ask Anthony at 11 o'clock at night, what the fuck are you doing? He's in his computer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I've been there, dude. Like, you know what I mean? And like, I know for him right now, he's building his empire.
Right.
But when does it come to a point where it's like, you were there and you have to do everything and you teach people how to do this.
Right.
And I love everything he's done. I admire the business he's built. the way he's, handles himself, the team, the camaraderie, the culture. I admire it all.
Right.
But the one thing that flakes me is how much this dude works.
Yeah, I'm excited about answering this one. I am.
Hit it.
So there is a guy, a client of mine who's actually still a client of mine. Who was one of my first clients. He's been with me forever. He told me about 15 years ago, his most successful year ever is when he took 7-week vacations. So he was off for 7 weeks. And here's a guy who fucking grinds all the time too, right? And he was like, I was able to actually focus on the business instead of being in the business when I had that time to myself. And so like, that's something that I teach as a coach all the time is like, you have to have time to like focus on the business, because when you do, then you see opportunity to like make other things happen with, without your involvement, and make it easier for you. Right. And, you need to be able to also step away and take that time where it's like, I'm going to really try to not think about any of this stuff and give your body a chance to recharge, or else you're just going to burn out. You're going to grind, and burn out. So, so for me, I have a vacation house in Keo Island, South Carolina. I go down there like at least, a month and a half, a year, like just sporadic times. And it's my retreat. And it's like, I'm not fucking working at all while I'm here. Like I'm not doing a thing, and I was able to like let my shoulders down. That's why I bought a house down there. I'm like, wow. This is the first time ever I was.
He would need to go somewhere where there's no cell service, no nothing, but he probably wouldn't buy there because that's him, right? But
well, I did that twice. Okay, there's been 2 days where I've been out of cell service, didn't take my laptop in the last 10 years. And that was upstate. It's one of the best experiences that I've ever had. Brought my girlfriend up there, and there's literally no service, and they don't have Wi-Fi. They don't even have a fucking TV. Best experience of my life. And I said, I'm going to do this every quarter, but you know how that fucking works. But I mean, to your point, yes, but there's a little bit of a difference, right? It's like I enjoy work.
Yep.
I really enjoy work.
Yep.
So much so that, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll open my laptop just because it's like I want to do this right now. Yep. And it's like right now I don't have to do this. That's why I could be here, right? But there is difference. And you're how old?
48.
48. And how long, like if you were in your 30s, would you have wanted to do what you're doing now? Like with the freedom, like just, or would you just have?
I think we always wish we had more
and,
time that we lost.
Yeah,
I think so too. But
I'll tell you this:
you don't have kids though. Like he doesn't have
that's
kids.
the
He's not
difference.
married. I think reality is gonna catch him. Like if he does get married, or a kid does pop in, or a health issue
life's over
or
if I
a
have a
health
kid. I know
issue
that.
does arrive. Like I just feel like he's 1,000%. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
10,000 miles per hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he enjoys it. But that's fine. Like a lot of people, I enjoyed working too.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think like so many other things come into play. And a lot of his friends, they grew up with, they all have businesses, but they have families. So he sees the downtime. But Anthony's a fucking grinder. He probably works harder than anyone I know, more than anyone I know, like to make his business better, make his company better.
Yeah.
But I just I sit there and I'm like, dude, I could never.
I'm tired watching you.
I don't even want to talk to him. Like, text him on a Sunday and I'm like, yo, what's up? And he's like, he's texting me and I'm sleeping and he's working. I'm like, this guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel the burnout for him. Like,
right.
Where does it come to a point where enough's enough? And like, all right, I need to chill. I need to go away for a month to New York with no service. Bro, he'd have a fucking heart attack.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I have taken a little bit of notes out of your pages out of your book, right? I went to Aruba, thanks to you. I met you out there. I've been to Colombia. I'm going to somewhere next week. My birthday, either Miami or who knows, Poconos or something like that. But have another trip planned for Turkey. So I'm been taking
he's definitely
a lot more
backed off a lot
more vacations, but. Again, it's like I had a psychology teacher, and I think I mentioned this on another pod before, but I had a psychology teacher in college, criminal psychology. I was actually going to be a therapist, believe it or not. Imagine that. But this guy, and it never forgets me, he's like, look, I love what I do, and he sincerely did. The guy was the happiest man I have ever met, especially for a professor, and he said, I have never worked a day in my life. Do what you love and never work a day in your life. Yes. However, I have since changed that. It's, do what you love, and never work a day in your life and stay broke. Right? However, what you have said is kind of resonates with me as well. It's like you get to do now what you love to do, but you didn't always you didn't get to do what you love to do. It took you time doing the shit that you hated, I'm sure, meeting people, going out and
Right. Yep.
booze, shaking hands and kissing babies. Like, that's just not your thing.
Right.
But you did the shit that you absolutely hate
Right.
to buy yourself now in the future to do the things that you love, which
Yeah.
is, creative.
Yeah, there is a lot of truth to that. Yeah. I had a coaching client that I brought in who was very similar. Successful business. It was actually a B2C business. He was with me for a couple years. And the first day I had him in, he cried 3 times. And it was all because we were talking about life and what's left. And he's my age, wants to work all the time. I'm like, your kids are going to go and leave, the house, right? You have, how many more Thanksgivings with your family? How many more Christmases are you going to have with your mom and your dad? You're so busy working, like, and hiding at work that you're not thinking about, like, these things that are going to go away, and life is so important. Like, money is important, right? Because you need it. And it does buy you freedom, but like, the moments and the events, those are the things that I'm like, shit, this is important to me now. Like, I want to spend more time with my kids. Like, we went to a shit ton of Post Malone concerts together, a few years ago. Like, we'll never forget that. It was the greatest ever. Whereas when I was in my 30s, I was working my balls off, and my kids would try to play with me, and I would be too stressed and in my phone and even working too. And I got to a point, like, there was a year I went on vacation. And I was like, I'm not bringing my laptop. I'm not bringing it. I went and fucking bought a laptop at the Apple store.
That would be me.
That'll be you. I tell you. No matter how much he says,
100%.
bro, it's good. He's got this fucking mental, like.
Hey, I did good for 2 days. So it was probably the best 2 days of my life.
I think what you might also learn too, like, if you ask anybody that knows me in business, like, or that works for me, they'll say that I'm an extremely high performer. Like, I can get a fuck ton of shit done in a very small amount of time and just bang it out, slay a million dragons, and accomplish more than, a lot of CEOs can.
Right.
And, I've learned to optimize, my time, and then really understand, like, what the highest and best use of my time is. And then out of the, like, 100 things I might have put on my checklist, what are the really important ones to do? And if I didn't do them, what would happen? Like, I didn't do those other things. And then you start to realize that, like, wow, I created a shit ton of busy work for myself, or I'm going to hire an assistant and pay her 80 or 90 grand a year to do the shit, or a COO, and he's going to take care of all that stuff. And it's going to give me the time back that I need. Things aren't going to change, like, nothing changes, meaning as far as, like, business is worse or anything like that. If anything goes up, it's better if everything's planned the right way. And so now you have freedom, you have money and freedom, and you get to do whatever you want. Like, I don't have to go to work ever. Like, if I wanted to just stay away, I could stay away. I do love what I do too. I love changing lives. Like, I genuinely, I know, and I feel like I'm changing lives when I'm working with a business, from a consulting perspective, even from a marketing perspective. Like, you take somebody that's, doing 10 million and you watch them grow. I have one client who's going to do $100 million this year. And ironically, it's we created a video, put it up on social. Amazon saw the video, hired him, and gave him an extra $60 million in business, something like that. Like, it was like $40 or $60 million from a video that we created on social. Wow.
We live in a different spending pattern of life. For me, I'm a time buyer. He's a time saver, right?
Yeah.
In certain things. Here's what I mean. He had his bathroom done at his house. For me, even though that's what I do, I'd still pay to get it done.
Right.
So I don't got to deal with it.
Right.
He'd rather piece it out, save money, be in control of it because he's a control freak, right? He's got his back deck he's redoing, or porch he's redoing. He's going to do it himself. Bro, I can fucking build the deck myself, but I'm hiring somebody because my time is more valuable than me fucking saving $6,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, just hire somebody. He's like, nah, fuck that shit, right? So, like,
I'm the same way.
I used to be the same way where I used to want to do everything, build this, do this. And I'm just finally like, fuck, bro, I don't have enough time in a day.
Right.
Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I just can't catch up.
Right.
And it's always like the next thing on a list. So I would say probably about 10 years ago, I literally just opened up the bank account and said, pay. Pay. And here's what I found. It's literally de-stressed me.
Yep.
It's literally cost me money, but made me more.
Right. Yep.
And it's allowed me to spend my time on the things I'm good at, not the things I'm trying to save at.
Right. Yep.
And like, I'll tell him and he's like, no. Right. So like, I know how busy he is. And I'm like, bro, like you make fucking good money. Like who gives a fuck? You and your girl or you and your friends want to do that shit over beer? Like, fuck that. I'd rather go have a beer somewhere or dinner somewhere while someone else is doing that shit.
Well, you'd be proud of me. Now I'm paying someone to cut my grass.
That fucking time.
I used to love cutting my grass.
I love cutting my grass too.
It's like
it's $40.
Peace.
He separated himself with $40.
Yeah, it's peace.
Now let's get to the $4,000.
It was like therapy.
It's exactly 40. Fuck you. You must have talked to him.
No, all residential lawns are 35 to 45 bucks.
Dude, so I was the same exact way. I do love mowing the lawn too. Like
so
it's like
peaceful.
it's therapy.
It is.
And so like you, Dan, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to spend money. I can do all that stuff too. Like I have a house down in South Carolina, like I said, and I like there's all these things I'm going to do, and I'm like I can go there and do this, blah blah blah. But it's not the highest and best use of my time, and just because I can doesn't mean I should.
Yeah.
But like if I'm going to do anything, like I like building cars, like classic cars, like hot rods, and stuff like that, working on cars. I decided that the only time I'm going to spend doing any of the construction or building stuff is going to be when I'm working on my own shit, my cars, not my house, like, none of that stuff.
And there's a rush from that. That's like something you create something.
Hell yeah.
You fucking rev that motor when the hood's open. And you're like, holy shit, I built this thing. You know what I mean? Like
chills on your
that's
arms.
a rush.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And listen,
cool.
again, like he's young, he doesn't have kids, we're different lifestyles. But it's like he'll call me up and he'll ask me my opinion, and I'll be like, for me, my quick pay for it. He's like, nah, bro, I'm not paying for that shit.
Always.
Where do I do this? I'm like, dude, just pay for it.
Yeah, you almost find yourself too, like if you think about all the time that you spend thinking about it,
Or consulting about it.
right, and planning it and shopping, and you're like, wow, okay, let's say that deck is going to cost you 25 grand to do. Like, all right, well, how much time do you need to get $50,000 in business if you're 50% margin to pay for that deck, right? Like, you just like
One job
all right,
pays for it.
yeah. All right, I'm gonna get one job, and then that's gonna do my deck, right? And that's how you do it.
Again, like he doesn't have. We live a different life. He lives a very casual life. He's himself. He's got his business. You know what I mean? And he's got his group of friends, and he's lived this same life. Like, and it's patternized. And some of his friends have went off and like built these lives outside of their life, but they're still in the life, right?
Right.
And he's still patternized. I'm just waiting for like, he's gonna wake up one day and be like, fuck am I doing?
Right.
You know what I mean? But it's not going to be from me. It's not going to be from his mom. It's not going to be from.
Yeah.
It's just going to be from a book or watching something or seeing something or a podcast
Or burnout.
Exactly.
Burnout,
Something.
Yeah,
You know what I
something's
mean?
gonna be like, fuck, I need to change, and then it'll happen.
And it's not anything that he's changing bad. It's just like your most valuable asset is your time.
Correct. Yep.
So like for me, listen, you want to work all day long in your business and on your business to grow your business, that's fine. But you're gonna fucking screw down a deck, bro. You're fucking making millions of dollars a year. You want to screw down a deck? Like fuck that.
Well, I'm gonna leave here today. Well, as soon as we get off this pod, I'm gonna text my girl and say book whatever, because we've been debating July 4th. July 5th is my birthday, right? So like July 4th weekend is kind of on a nice weekend, and we've been debating, should we go here? Should we go there? Should we not? And I was like, we'll stay in the backyard. Like we'll have a new deck.
See?
We'll have the new deck.
Nobody will bother us.
I'll
I'll buy a palm tree.
You know what I mean? Like, but that's like you said. Like I'm a homebody. Like I like to stay home, but I also like to travel. So it's like, but it's like, it was questions about the money thing, and so I will text her as soon as we're done. My commitment, say book whatever.
I'm a pusher, bro. Like I every time I see the good in something or somebody, I'm a pusher without trying to be a pusher. You know what I mean?
You
Like,
do a good job at it. You do a good job. You know when to do
because
it.
I see it, and I know
We
how
also
I
lived it too,
and
right?
I lived it. I knew how I grew up. I knew the things. You know what I mean? And like, bro, I burnt myself out after. I'm telling you, bro. After like the heart attack issue with me, like fucking forget about it. Like my whole perspective on life changed.
Yep.
So when people are complaining to me, like, bro, you just fucking go. I don't want to hear that shit. Like, you know what I mean? I got bigger shit to complain about.
That's what I worry about. Is that once I have kids, if I have kids, right, that's going to be my life. I'm definitely an addict at heart, 100%. Clearly, I can't put the computer down. Like I'm always on the phone. It's always got to be
as soon
something.
as we're done.
Yeah, right. It's always got to be something.
Right.
So like I know I'm an addict at heart, but I know if I have a child, I'm gonna be absolutely obsessed. So I'm gonna have to take more pages out of your book for sure, right? So,
Right.
but I'm glad to take the advice now before I have to go jump that hurdle.
Yep, yep.
What's next for you, Chris? Well, like what's in the future for you?
So I've been putting a lot of thought into building a high-end hot rod shop. So I've been talking to a bunch of shop owners, learning the business, like from that perspective. I think what I would bring to the table is a lot different. Like I know how to create recurring revenue. I know how to build a brand. I've been a car guy since, before I had my first car. I was working on building my own '68 Mustang. So I think that's going to probably launch, within the next couple of years. I'm gonna go all in on that, and continue to grow the agency. And try to touch as many lives as I can with consulting and and help them, achieve their ideal outcome in life. So,
What's the goals for the agency?
So we have a very modest 10% year-over-year growth goal, and we've already achieved that goal for this year, which is great. And so I think we're just going to continue to grow. Finding talent has been a big challenge for us. So
Us too.
everybody. It's like
Talent drops every year, bro.
it really does. And there are a lot of people in marketing that say that they're awesome, or you think that they're really good at marketing, but not really good at delivering the marketing. They're really good at saying that they're good. So there are a lot of fugazis out there. It's like really finding people. We've looked to acquire companies too, and then you get under the hood and you're like, shit, this company sucks. So we're not going to stop doing that. I'm not all doom and gloom here. We'll still look, but just keep on going. So.
All right. So if anyone's interested in your services, I mean, you gave us a lot today, and the 8 years is just kind of mind blowing. So my hat's off to you there. But if anyone's interested in using your services, or wants to tune into your podcast, how do they find you?
Sure. So you can find me personally on Instagram at Chris Mulvaney Official. My website, or chrismulvaney.com. My website for the agency is cmdsonline.com. And the podcast is the Arrow Podcast, and that's on Spotify, YouTube. Even if you just do Google search, will pop up on Google on our website as well. So
awesome. Yeah. Well, it was a pleasure having you out here today.
For
every time we talk, we get deeper, and I love it. So,
great.
Guys, if you're not following us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, go ahead and do so. We appreciate it.
Like and share. Thanks, guys.